This is millennials, Gen Z, we don't really know what's going on. And I think that would be fair to say. And so I want to try and summarize it from I'm going to be using Russia, Ukraine, and toxic relationship. To leave. And in 1991, she built up the confidence to do so, did this, and said, bye bye. Relationship over. I'm going to move on. And Jane decided she's going to love herself, work on herself. She's going to become a strong, self loving, independent woman with the help from countries like France, Poland, America. People that love her, support her, are going to be the yes queens in the Ukraine's DMs. And she has found her way. Someone that's got a lot to offer: gas, oil, a really, really great export location. So she was able to find her worth after the breakup with the help from the countries. So she has been living that single life for 30 plus years and has been having fun with different countries, exploring different relationships, different talents, whether it be exports, imports, different deals, and moreover, friendships. Now, Russia is kind of because this has been going on since at least I've been alive, since 2014. So since 2014, there's been the toxic ex issue where the family member or the person, however you want to describe it, it's kind of gone over their boundaries, if you will. So Russia, being the toxic ex that it is, wants her back and doesn't want her dealing or meeting with any new people or creating any new relationships. Just like that toxic family member that you might have had that wanted to cut you off from the world to care for them, or just like, I don't know, that toxic ex that you had wanting to isolate you. Really note it and also take your talents. Because as we know, as millennials and Gen Zers, there's nothing more than a toxic person, entity wants to do than take your talent, steal your joy, and hurt you. Because that's what they do. So, a couple weeks ago, Russia started sitting in the front of Ukraine's house. And when her friends asked him, like, what was he doing there? He's like, nothing, just getting some exercise with friends. That's all. And she's like, okay, I'm just gonna let it go. And after her friends told her that Russia was potentially getting ready to do something bad, he said, they're lying. They want you to be scared of me. That's not what it is. And she's like, all right, okay. Because don't we all do that? Aren't we all guilty of assuming the best of people that maybe we shouldn't assume the best of? Just in general. And yesterday, Russia essentially broke into Ukraine's house, beat her up, took advantage of her while on live stream, double dog dared any of her friends to do something about it. And if they want the smoke, Russia got that thing on them. So that's the best way I can describe it. Millennial American. So at least Americans have an idea. In 2000, again, in 2000, more complexities to this. I know it. But just to give a baseline of how to compare it, how to relate to it, because Americans, there's nothing more that we love than relatability. And I would argue that the world loves relatability. However, as Westerners, we tend to have such entitlement where we cannot see things as they are. And Just because someone might be a toxic abuser as well, I'll throw this caveat in, does not make them a bad person. It could, but it doesn't necessarily. Doesn't make the people bad people at all. In fact, most people that deal with toxic people are really fucking wonderful human beings that have just tolerated toxicity. I am such a victim of abuse. Someone with ADHD would understand. Right. So I can't comment further than that for the reasons. I literally had to comment because people did not even know that there were issues. And it's also ironic that, again, in 2014, and by the way, thank you for the comment. That's really kind of you. In 2014, in which video, all of my videos are about the Fed. I feel like every time I'm talking about this, I love you guys are in the C section. Thank you. It makes me happy to see people in the C section commenting. But for Americans to have a baseline to begin to give a fuck, they need to have some sort of relatability. I'm not even saying that's a good personality trait that many of us carry, but it's just the fucking truth. People don't even give a fuck about finance until the CPI index is up about 10%. Again, you look at the stock exchange today, no one's talking about how Russia's stock exchange was up 12% because they have only about like 16% dollars. And, you have entities, brilliant ones, like brilliant men who I Mr. Larry Fink of BlackRock who own Russian bonds. So there is no opinion that I'm going to state further than pipelines, oil, the ability to find herself, love herself. I'm more worried about Taiwan sovereignty, to be honest. Not more worried, of course, because I care about humanity. But when you ask for validity, like I enjoy lying in bed and I can deal with finance from bed. Yeah, well, for sure. As I've spoken on my channel many times, I have been warning and blowing the whistle on China doing war drills in Taiwan and begging America to do something. Because as an American, a proud but pissed American. And by the way, that was a long comment, so I can't do that. I So, by the way, I probably do lack the academic because I'm a proud dropout. I don't pick on topics as well. I'm not someone that ever wants to be a expert on all topics of affairs. But I do think that people watching my channel need a basic baseline to be able to understand and how to relate. No, what's even more interesting is how Ukraine allegedly has the largest grain exports, but China's been stockpiling the shit out of grain. Riddle me that. Riddle me the 2014 China Russia de dollarization with the 38 amendments plus that no one's wanted to talk about. Riddle me that. I will never ever lie on here and pretend to ever be an expert. I worked the humanitarian crisis in 2014 when Antonio Guterres was the former prime minister of Portugal, was running UNHCR. He now runs the UN. And again, to the UN, but they pay you very well. And I appreciate the feedback. But just to be clear, I am in no way, shape, or form going to become some sort of fucking policy expert on anybody's mind. There are 300,000 Jews in the Ukraine. As a humanitarian and as a Jewish person whose family's in ashes all over Europe, side and make sure that we understand the Winter Games. In the C section, I want you to keep commenting. You guys don't just stop commenting because I give you an answer. Like keep troll me for fuck's sake. I would prefer like a really like insightful dialogue, even if you want to sit and tell me how hideous I am. So you come in with like compliments and says like you lack academia. No, I don't lack at everything because as an asset manager, as someone who's in software development with blockchain technology, cryptocurrency, digital asset management, and as a lobbyist, I got enough on my plate, Habibi. That's where people like yourself come in and you can throw me a bone and say, hey, Alex, read this. I'll read it. I'll articulate what. And to the best of my knowledge, Putin was in Beijing the day before yesterday. Bad thing. Now they know it's a bad thing. Can I do that? Does everything I have to say have to be so ominously insidious? I mean, come on. I think, can't we have a bit of humor? Can't we have a bit of fun? I hope so. Because I'm not going to come on here crying. Again, finance doesn't give a fuck about my feelings, and you just won't see me shed tears because I've already shed enough tears because I've worked the fucking crisis. Ana essa ed Iraqis, ana essa ed Syrians, Libyans, Palestinians. I've worked the refugee crises from 2014, Ukraine included. It's gone on since 2014. But as has the Russia China de dollarization development projects with the 38 amendments. So I don't think, and I think I would argue, and I don't know, not argue, I would debate you on saying, Alex, you need to be informed on every subject. For what? Fuck for? Currencies, commodities, cryptos, wanting to run the Federal Reserve? Okay, great. I just need to know the CPI of Russia, in essence. I need to know who's holding Russian bonds. Like, no, I don't know. Let's say BlackRock. I want to know why I want to know why. Let's talk about this. I want to know why the US education system is so fucking bad that no one even. Even if we dislike Congress, let's talk about Jack Dorsey's lobby with Brian Armstrong and Fidelity, their fund and lobby that could completely fuck our fiscal policy in a day. Jack builds it, Brian lists it, Elon promotes it, and boom, half of America's fiscal policy is gone. So we could have a de-dollarization project on our hands. But as a lobbyist, those are my passions. However, as a humanitarian, the ability to articulate and do so well in relation to explaining a crisis that's on my heart, where I genuinely give a fuck, I'm going to do it in the best way I know possible. And if that means bringing humor in and comparing it to a toxic relationship, then I'm going to do that because that's what makes most sense to myself. And I think as long as things are well intended and come from an honest worldview, there's nothing wrong with that. Why does everybody have to be in academia? I will say this though, and I'm going to brag. I have been mentioned in over 50 plus papers on academia.eu, .edu, whatever. I can show you in my email. I got the receipts, if you will. I don't know shit about the Winter Games. I just saw that they were terrible in essence, that like people were tweeting their food, and I don't even like social media. I delete the apps the second that they go away. I'm like, okay, fuck this, goodbye. They had to have discussed this. China has been stockpiling. They have half the supply of the world's grain. But you know what, dear America, it's time to make shit to make shit. Are we going to continue to be the America's essentially the gold digger? But we're also in a toxic relationship with the world. Like we want to take, but we also overly give. We're like, we are victim. America is victim to the global. I don't know why I'm for globalization, not for globalism. Two different things. However, if I get the very top, I might change my mind. I mean, give, and getting literally nothing in return. We are the only country when there are fires and earthquakes and accident and in Miami, my second home, the place, love, life. Mossad was there and Meta collecting human remains from the building collapse in Miami, and people didn't know that. So we're in a country that loves to give money to other countries, but I haven't seen any reaped rewards. And the Fed, absolutely. Jerome Powell, Carlyle Group, come on. David Rubenstein, you're a brilliant minded man. Larry Silverstein, brilliant minded man. George Soros, brilliant minded man. Warren Buffett, brilliant minded man. Even Mitt Romney, brilliant minded man. Jerome Powell, what? Me on a rant, and I'm just ranting now. Over the summer, after I read the 2,000-page infrastructure bill, and I and whatnot. So I think that you're right about the Winter Games. I feel really bad for that little 15-year-old girl that was taking heart medicine. I don't know what I don't I hate I don't do Olympics. I support the hell out of the athletes again. Good for them. I have lupus and immunoglobulin deficiency and a brain that has ADHD, PTSD, CPTSD, and is on the spectrum. So, I mean, do you guys want me to be an expert in all fields? Wouldn't that be boring as fuck? I mean, for me, it would be. It would be too much. Because as a DJ, let me tell you what I'm not going to do either. I have fans in Russia from Moscow, and I have fans in Kiev, and I'm not going to fuck up my fan base for a fucking opinion either. I'm going to be Switzerland. Always are going to try to be Switzerland because I give a fuck about monetary gain. And I know I use monetary gain, but I did use it contextually proper. So I have music of like sound of mine, and again, graciously, humbly, and unworthy, and almost just mind blowing the support that I have from whether it be Moscow, St. Peter, arguing about how to pronounce it. Nonetheless, I'm gracious for everyone who shared my music and as a DJ and as a fund manager and who cares about people more than politics. I'm not going to ever pick a side, except the best way I can explain the side where I'm not going to upset a fan. And I don't think the material in which I helped presented it or chose to present it is going to upset anyone. People are going to get a chuckle out of it. People are going to again relate to toxic relationships and wonder why Americans giving out money like we're giving it to the Tinder swindler and being Anna Delveyed at the same time by some of these globalists. Again, I'm for globalization, not globalism. I mean, do you want me to be an expert? Except in what I love, but you'd like to probably have an idea of what's going on if you do not. Am I wrong? Correct me, and I will, I don't know, consider going to college. Probably not, but I'm willing to read books. I love books. I'm a voracious reader. I mean, I believe in relatability. I think the news's biggest weapon is, well, it is definitely going to be tested with the de-dollarization project, if you will. Let's just call it that. And again, I'm for globalization. So like free trade, I'm anti-tariff. It doesn't, I don't give a fuck who it is. Anti-tariff, period. That's what, I don't want to say precluded, but I'm not precluded, but it did preclude, but then it extended the Great Depression even more so. But I'm also not someone who's going to sit and be an FDR apologist because Ben Gurion begged the United States to get into the war sooner and bomb Auschwitz Birkenau. And because they did not, I have family in ashes all over Europe. So I absolutely can empathize with anyone. I think people forget that Russians were killed in Europe. However, I loved Davos. I had so much the equitable opportunity, and it was done digitally. So that was good for my health. So please believe, just because people take too much merit and want to always blame their personal failures on people like Klaus Schwab, who, by the way, smart motherfucker. If you guys want the Great Reset or the Fourth Industrial Revolution, I'm happy. Drop your email in the C section below, or reach out to me on Instagram or Twitter, and I will, or Snapchat, and I will absolutely give you guys that book to read. We can have a book club because they're brilliant written books. He's so smart in how he's branded. He's the creator of the World Economic Forum. Who the fuck am I to ever be invited to something that dope? I don't know how I have been so blessed. Critique ever. Like, I almost want people to come for me. Like, I almost want people to come for me. That was just like too nice. What do you mean by safety nets? Please don't say regulations. Less regulations. Deregulations would probably, I could make an argument that deregulations, and I would just do everything differently. It's very difficult for myself to see just a two-sided argument when I look at the world completely differently. Than I'm a square peg in a round hole. I'm a loser. I'm a geek. I'm a weirdo. I've been doxxed, harassed, bullied. Like, what is it? Beat up on? What's the word? Hazed. Is that hazing? Yeah. School, like, since I was like yay high. So, and then did definitely fun and dysfunctional family life growing up and as an adult. So I agree. I think globalization and globalism as well. I think that there needs to be a world order. However, I would like for our dollar to be the fucking world reserve currency. Now, people do freak out and get so like, oh my God, that doesn't mean that America's going to fall. It means that shit's going to get real and going to get who question, should we be policing the world? Dot, 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 dot. If we're going to be the world reserve currency. And I think maybe I could make a strong, compelling argument. Yeah, we should maybe. Maybe we should. If we are going to be the world reserve currency and we're going to mandate that every fucking central bank follows me, then by damned hell, yeah, we're going to police the world. Most people aren't even talking about America dropping bombs on Somalia. Al Shabaab terror group. Terrible people, by the way. Absolutely horrific, awful. I've worked with refugees personally out of Somalia because, again, my side's always going to be humanitarian based. Uh, most people didn't even know America did that. So I believe truthfully that academia has taught people the answer to the question versus critical thinking. And I think if you look at like Forbes, that would probably agree with me, being that most are college dropouts. And then they like donate to colleges, which is super interesting too. Am I right? But I agree. But I also agree that we have a responsibility, if we are the world reserve currency, to fucking act like it. Citizens included. That means, why are we allowing our country to become a cesspool of intersectional divisiveness? Do we not understand that there are 200 plus countries in the world and we are the world reserve currency? And we don't seem to know anything about anything, nor do we seem to give a fuck unless it involves ourselves. Because, well, the Kardashians. Again, people know more about Kanye and Kim than they do even where the Ukraine is located. But that also is about Yemen, Salih, in 2015, the invasion. I don't recall getting much press coverage. No one had a word to say about that. The banks are definitely still being discussed at the Fed. They've not released the notations from the secret meeting they had. section. If you want to read Klaus Schwab, he's a brilliant minded man. Don't write someone off just because you might disagree with them from a how they believe the world should be run. Because let me say this, who says that they're wrong? We do? Okay. Well, that means that we're a little bit shallow minded, even if I agree, and that we should learn their perspective. In fact, the fourth industrial revolution is going to help myself as someone that is in digital assets that understands blockchain technology, that understands technology and robotics. And because I'm, again, weird, loser, geek, stupid. But I think that we should all educate ourselves. Because again, if you just read The Art of War, the know your opponent. People don't even just like just say something weird. Opportunity for things. And by the way, pedophiles are wrong. I think we could all agree with that. So we could start there. Like hanging out with Jeffrey Epstein for a Nobel Peace Prize just screams red flags. Well, that is my Danny. That is God bless you, because as someone that if that started Orca Oshi Capital Management Group as a minority, it's a minority with my best friend Ronnie. I'm that's so sweet of you. As a hard knock random, some of them like I almost went into method acting. Anthony Sampson. I've always want to talk. Let's debate. Just ask me a question. Can you just put me on the spot? Because I want to go from the spot. Like I want to give me a hard question on the spot. And if I don't know, I'll say I don't know because I like to learn. All I like to talk about is from a financial standpoint. That's why when I was giving my example about the Ukraine, I even brought up that homegirl found talent such as exports. And I had to bring them up. So I had to bring up making her money and loving herself because well, I just can't help how my brain works. Put me on the spot. Ask me something financial. Because I'd love to know if you could tell me why Fannie Mae withheld bond holdings. What type of financials, by the way? Are we talking macro, micro? Are we talking Federal Reserve policy, 0.25 versus 0.5? Are they going to raise it 0.25 every meeting? Are we talking mortgage-backed securities and treasuries being pulled from the balance sheet? Are we talking about how the Federal Reserve bought Walmart debt back in 2020? Are we talking about the banks and the cash reserves they have and how they're closing the branches because, well, they can do that? Like what type of finance? Equities, commodities, stocks, red chips, blue chips, emerging markets? Digital asset management. Triangular arbitrage is one of my fucking favorite topics. Let's go. What you want to know? Or what can I learn from you, moreover? Because that is more likely the case, as I'm going to learn from you. I don't know. Pretend I'm the damn Federal Reserve chairman. What would you ask me right the fuck now? Except, will you raise rates? And the answer for myself would be like, yes, because I would have never allowed the monetary supply to become so out of hand. Especially that the stimmies. Oh, sorry, I'm ranting so long. This is gonna be the longest YouTube live I've ever done because now I'm just thinking like, oh fuck. Do you guys realize how fucked we are? So they give us this. I didn't get stimulated. So if you got stimulated, good. If you paid off your debt, if you did responsible things, being stimulated, excellent. God bless you sincerely. And non dependent fees and incentives, pre-relations, don't look. God bless you sincerely. But if you went out and bought big screen TVs and appliances and basically clothes, then congratulations, you took stimulus money that we printed in the United States and you took it you made Asia richer. I wonder how much. I would love to know, and I have not been able to find the statistics. If you could, please find the stats of how much money Asia made off of Americans getting stimulus checks. Because they're like, it's going to go right into the American economy. And I'm like, wrong. Look at the 100 boats off of and yeah, I would actually disagree with that. I think we made Asia's economy a fuck ton richer. Care to disagree? Like, let's go. and my partner is extraordinary. I mean, I'm like, how, baby, how do you feel about me doing like bed talks? And he's like, he helps with my lighting. Everything is behind the scenes. He structured my fund as a master feed fund Cayman structure, and really, and is running more as a family office for now. Family office for now, master feed Cayman structure in the future. Family office for now, master feed in the future. I have to say that just in case KYC AML comes at me because I'm a minority. But as a C. Yeah, so I don't know what would anybody ask me financially. I don't know. I'm terrified. See if anybody talks. I want to very good at that. So I love you guys. I will get off here. I maybe I will